Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mays. It is just me at the moment. I'm taking episode 8-4 all by myself. Sorry about that. As we start our interview series with the coaches, got to sit down with 4 assistant coaches and head coach Doug Dahms. Those will be 2 different broadcasts here during this show. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate the coaches taking time to sit down with us. Justin and I interviewed them this past week. I'm going to play that for you momentarily. Just a couple housekeeping things we want to get out there, a lot of announcements and things like that. But also do want to thank the sponsors here of the Bulldog Hour. As always, the presented by sponsor is May's Sandwich Shop. So appreciate my dad always stepping up and helping us here on the show. He's been here since day one. Very thankful for that. But he's not the only one. And we would like to also thank the Hop family. And 4 anonymous donors have joined for the 2022 season. Here, season 8 of the Bulldog Hour. We appreciate everyone that supported us in the past. And if you would like to do so, there are many ways you can do that, not just monetarily, although that is greatly appreciated, the sponsorships and advertising and the in-kind donations, but also visit bulldoghour.com, the website. Great way to help the program both here and also the football program. And I put a lot of information for the football program up on bulldoghour.com, not just current and present stuff, but also past, the history and heritage of the program. And as always, anything we post on social media, if you could just like and share that across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even join us on Twitch and YouTube, just to get the program out there. We will have another live show tomorrow at 8:30, our normal time, and that will be our senior player interviews. I did 2 groups of senior players. I missed out on a few guys, so I would like to collect them maybe after the scrimmage, but they're not going to be part of that tomorrow. But I did talk to, I believe, 9 senior players, and that will broadcast tomorrow, the 14th. And then the following Sunday, the 21st, as we get into these weekly episodes of the Bulldog Hour, we'll be back at 8:30 on the 21st, and that'll be our scrimmage recap and season preview. And as of right now, Paul Roberts is going to join us to talk about the Bulldogs themselves and also all 10 of their opponents that Wilson will be playing in the regular season. So, yep, show now, show tomorrow, and show next Sunday as we roll right into the 2022 Pennsylvania high school football season. I know we were all very, very excited. And just as a refresher, real quickly, here is the Wilson football schedule week by week. And here we go again. That first one, we're done. Heat week over. Started last Monday, the 8th. Tomorrow, training camp starts. 2 or 3 days, August 15th. Bulldogs going to hit the field at 6:30 in the morning and have a few session and films and all that good stuff. And this is when things really come together as the pads come on. And then already this Saturday, a week from today, down at Coatesville, the Bulldogs will be heading down there for a road scrimmage against the Red Raiders before the season kicks off in less than 2 weeks. Friday, August 26th at Gursky to take on Roman Catholic, the first meeting between the teams. And we'll talk more about that on the episode next Sunday, the 21st. All right, a couple other things to mention about that August 26th game against Roman Catholic. We will be honoring longtime head athletic trainer Doc Moyer before the game at 6:30. And there will also be a post-game reception, open house style, at PJ Wellahan's. You know, Doc retired from Wilson after the spring of 2020, but obviously we're in the midst of the beginning of the pandemic at that time. So nothing was able to be done to honor Doc for his many, many years of service, 40 years of service to the Wilson community. So the school district is going to take the time to do that on Friday, August 26th. So hopefully all of you can get to the game early that night for the school honoring Doc, and then also join everyone after the game at PJ Wellahan's to stop in. Other announcement, last one coming up, the Wilson Football Tradition Club's annual championship team event commemorating a past Bulldog championship football team this year focusing on the fall 2002 squad. And yes, that was the team that I was a member of. So I'm very excited about this one, hoping to spread the word and get as many of my teammates to come back for this event, which will be on Friday, September 9th, which is Wilson's home game at Gursky against Martin Luther King. RSVPs are due on by August 31st. So hopefully anyone that can attend, players, coaches, and the like, message me on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, however you get a hold of me, or also email wilsonbulldogsfootball@gmail.com. So looking forward to welcoming back my teammates and anyone else on that 2002 squad. So please get that RSVP in as soon as possible. We would love to have many of you guys return for that event. It's always a good one. So, but that pretty much covers all the introductions and information that needs to be put out there. The program is still accepting flag football registrations for the Wilson students entering kindergarten and first grade. You can get that to Coach Dahms. That information is also on bulldoghour.com. You can check that out. And I think it's about time we can roll right into our interviews. So up first is going to be a group of 5 senior players. I'm going to talk to them for about half an hour or so, and then go into group 2 and get another half an hour in to get your full 60 minutes of great Bulldog Hour interviews. So without further ado, here is our first group. All right, so welcome back to Bulldog Hour. We are with our first set of senior players. 5 of you guys here, and maybe it sounds a little crazy to think you guys are seniors now. You're the leaders of this team. Well, let's find out who we're talking to. So just give me your name and the positions we'll see you playing this year on the field. We'll start with you.
I'm Nathan Capitano, number 43. I play safety.
My name is Nick Racona, number 15. I play outside linebacker.
My name is Rafael Fernandez. I'm number 11, and I play corner.
My name is Tajer Anusiyanwu. I play D tackle, number 59.
Now I'm Zach Weitzel. I wear number 77, and you'll probably see me at center or offensive guard.
All right. Well, thank you guys for introducing yourselves, and we know we'll have another set of players in here. I usually try to talk to most of the seniors before the season, and definitely all the seniors throughout the year. But appreciate you guys taking the time here after a heat week practice, and it is a hot one. I know some years you guys have been out there, and it hasn't been too bad, but this definitely is a year where you're getting yourselves ready for full pads, which is comes Monday. So. Yeah, sorry, change of plans, little mistake. It's supposed to be the coaches. Senior players are tomorrow, so that's my bad. Sorry about that. Let's get to our 4 assistant coaches that we talked with just a few days ago. All right, welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. We're here with 4 of our Wilson football assistant coaches joining us. I believe everyone has been on the show before, last year, a couple of years ago, maybe in the off season. Jami joined us to talk about running backs, though I don't think that's what we'll be talking about here with us this evening. No. So Justin is here. We're going to run through just some questions with you guys. Nothing major, nothing to be nervous about, unless you want to be. That's up to you. So starting off, for the watching audience, give us your name and the position that you coach. You can go first, Jami.
Coach Jami Sands, coaching defensive backs.
Coach Brandon Dahms, offensive line.
Chase Godfrey, offensive line.
Coach Mark Steinmeyer. I coach the wide receivers.
All right. Well, tell us, how has the summer workouts go? How was team camp? And how was this, as we're nearing the end of heat week, how has everything gone in preparation for the season?
Well, at the defensive back position, things have been pretty competitive. We have returned a lot, though, this year. We have Cam coming back. Raph saw a lot of time. Eddie as well saw a significant amount of time. And Capitano has actually been on and off for us for about 3 years now. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of talent back there. And we have probably 8 or 10 guys that can play varsity football for us. So we'll see how it pans out here when we start putting the pads on and where the pieces finally settle into. So it's been going pretty competitive.
Offensive line, probably the same way. We've got some real good depth there. Probably we're running right now 2 lines we get through. We had Dendel returning, Klein's back, Hop's back, and then we knew Kurzweig was going to come back and compete. And then there's still two other positions that, as we've gone through camp, some people have risen to the challenge, and some people are making our jobs a little bit easier.
I mean, this is probably going to be one of our more talented offensive line groups like, as of this point. I mean, we still haven't been full pads, and we still haven't had a real live action look yet. But it's probably one of the more talented groups that we've had thus far that we've had since I've been on staff. So we're fortunate there. We definitely have some guys with some real size, which we have not had in years past, and definitely some guys that just have some mental toughness, which is always makes a lot of things a lot easier when you have guys that like to hit and like to grind.
So from a receiver standpoint, we have a good mix of young and old. We have Cam returning, and Kai Cooper will be the two seniors. And then we're going to bring back Austin Valukiewicz, and as a junior, we have Eddie Case as a junior. We have some Jackson Wagner's going to play a role inside for us. Kids have been working very, very hard, know the concepts, know what their responsibilities are. So from that standpoint, we had a great camp. They worked their butts off. I got lots of reps, and we got better. We definitely got better at camp, and things are going to be good.
Excellent. Good to hear. So before we talk about this season anymore, let's just quickly look back at last year. It was an interesting season for you guys. We talked to the players about it yesterday, but looking back on the ups and downs, finishing strong, really strong, what was your biggest takeaway from that group, from the season as a whole? Is there anything that you could apply to 2022 or you would like to see hold over into the 2022 season?
Well, honestly, I think we have to. I think what we found last year was we needed to play to our strength offensively, and our strength we determined was running the football with Jaden and Brad and those guys, and doing enough things in the passing game to keep people honest. But going into this year, we're going to have to take advantage of the people that we have and what skill set they give us, put those kids in the best positions to make plays, and just go out and make the plays, make the routine catches, move sticks when we need to move sticks, and when we have the opportunity to hit big plays, hit big plays.
The two is getting that message across and getting the kids to buy into what we're doing. I think maybe a little bit early on, there was a little bit of doubt and hesitation sometimes with this is really working. And then, like we said, seeing what works best for us, adapting our offense, adapting the defense to meet what our kids are capable of doing and not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
I mean, secondarily, last year going up against Central York was a very good challenge for the secondary. And to see Raph step up the way he did when Cam went out in the first quarter was nice. But also when you look at the patience and the demand of what we do with some of the stuff we do in the secondary, these kids are making a lot of their own decisions, with the guidance of the coaches. So it was really great to see the kids be able to run with a game plan, stick with it, not panic, even though you might be up against a really good athlete, a good coaching staff in Central York. And throughout the playoffs, I thought they did a great job of just staying patient, not panicking, trusting the coaching and the system and their teammates to do what they need to do. So it was really fun to be part of and watch the kids come together like that.
Yeah, it was fun last year. There were some ups and downs, especially early on. And you could have packed it in, but to see the way they held it together and then really got things rolling later in the season was really a testimony to the team, I guess.
And to the head coach. The head coach, the kids rally around the head coach. I mean, Doug is, he's a legendary coach for a reason. And, he told us, guys, we need to hold kids accountable. We need to put the axe to the stone, so to speak, and hold the kids accountable. And the kids, for the most part, responded to it. So they could have packed it in, like you said, but thanks to the guidance of a guy who's been doing this for 47 years, for a long time, and the kids, they buy into what we're doing and what we tell them.
47. That's a good number to pull out there.
Is it? Was it 47?
Yeah. Excellent. Good job. You get extra cookie of films or
Thank you.
slice of pizza if it's a kind of shutout you can grab.
No, I'm not allowed to get any of that. Ernie doesn't let me.
Although when he gets Beckett's, you want to slide in there.
So, do you guys anticipate then both offensively and defensively an identity shift in terms of play calling and execution based on the players you have returning, or we're going to see more of the same? What does it feel like right now?
I really just hope that going into the season that we have a clear image of what Wilson football is going to be for this upcoming season. Looking back to last year, kind of felt like we were going in a couple of different directions. So hopefully this year, because I feel pretty good about this offensive line group that we have. We have guys meshing. We have, Dindo coming up, a multi-year player for us. Logan Kurzweil, who has a real motor on him. We have a couple other guys that truly just have some tenacity to them. And that helps out a lot. It rights a lot of wrongs when you have guys that don't mind getting their nose dirty. So I really hope that this year we can control the line of scrimmage, because when you get 6 inches of press, or you can give the quarterback 3-4 seconds to sit back there and set his feet, it rights a lot of wrongs and allows other guys to get in position to make big plays.
So we talk to the kids always about the tradition at Wilson of having one-year players step up senior year. There's always seems to be a couple of them on the team that maybe were overshadowed in the past, but when they had their chance to shine, they stepped up their senior year. Do you guys have any in your position group that maybe the fans and community aren't aware of right now, but you think would make a big name for themselves this year?
Yeah, I mean, from a receiver standpoint, Makai Cooper came over to us a year ago from Muhlenberg. He was quarterback there. We moved him to wideout. He has shown a lot of growth since his time with us. He's gotten better. He's gotten more disciplined with his routes, understanding the concepts that we're doing. So Makai is a kid from our standpoint who's going to help us out this year.
Offensive line-wise, I think we're probably going to be pretty young. Probably Hop's going to start. He's the returning senior that played last year, so know that name a little bit. I think other than that, it's probably going to be a lot of juniors and even maybe 1 or 2 sophomores starting to see on the offensive line. So no real seniors there. Defensively, though, I'd say like Isaiah Cassius, get a little bit of Taj. I try to say his last name. So Taj. And then you got like Nick Weitzel over there at the defensive end. So I think the defensive side of the line is where you're going to have those seniors that kind of rise up for a one-year player.
Okay.
I mean, as secondary goes, I returned 4 guys I've seen significant
Right.
times. So, but there are some guys that are lurking and waiting, and that's the thing about 6A football. If you think you're just going to get through with 4 starters, you're probably going to be not happy, because you're going to have somebody step up at some time. Cleveland's been doing a nice job for me for 3 years now. I think he's ready to take that step. Makai's another guy where his understanding of the game is very good. It's one of the strongest minds back there in the secondary. So if he gets an opportunity, I'm going to enjoy watching him play. At the secondary, safety position, I should say, I still have, I got a young guy, Jonah, coming up. It's got a lot of ability. I got Christos coming up, a lot of ability. But for this year, I even have Tommy Hutzinger ready to go. I got Woodsy. He can play. I mean, you're talking about guys that know the game of football, that understand how they fit, and they can do whatever they need to do and step up. Even MJ's in that mix. I mean, I'm telling you, I got 10 guys that, depending on what the task is at the hand and what the offense wants to do, where are their strengths, where are their weaknesses. Roman Catholic has a very good receiver. There's always matchups that you have to be aware of. So it'd be really interesting to see, one, who gets the opportunity against who and what we're going to do depending on what scheme they're running. So, I mean, there's so many variables there, but it's always fun to see how it works out, and you can't help but cheer for these kids when they get their opportunity to step up for us.
You're very happy with your defensive backfield depth.
Okay, so I'm a defensive coach, and you said I'm happy with my secondary. That's one thing I think as a defensive coach, you always have a chip on your shoulder. The only time you're happy is after the 48 minutes have played, and you have a good game, and otherwise I think you always have a chip on your shoulder. But as for where we're at right now without hitting, I'll take what I got. I got them, so.
So, sounds like there's a lot of good competition going on. I know some of you mentioned that earlier on, which it also can help, and like you said, pads go on next week, so that can throw a wrench in that competition a little bit. But it's good to have that intensity go on. And Jamie, as you kind of mentioned, like the chip on your shoulder, as we look forward to the upcoming season now, is there a game you are most looking forward to?
You can frame that however you want.
I mean,
What are some of the games on the schedule?
as coaches, it's really hard to get ahead of the one that's right in front of you. Like, you can't look ahead, because when you look ahead, that's when somebody jumps up and gets you. Our focus right now is on Roman Catholic, so we'll take care of that. We'll play that game, and then our eyes will go to the next opponent. It's just kind of the way you have to do it. I think as a coach, you can think about people in positions down the road against other people, but until you actually get a chance to see the other people on film, we don't have the opportunity to scout multiple weeks in advance. We don't have a whole scouting staff to do that, so we kind of have to take it 1 week at a time.
To be clear, that's the expected answer, but we have to ask.
Well, and you'll be happy to know I talked to 9 players yesterday, and they all pointed to Roman Catholic. For obvious reason of being the first game, but also a big new opponent. And obviously they also wanted to talk about Mifflin because Wilson Mifflin, and they wanted to speak a little bit about the change in venue and the day and time, because all that kind of got thrown at you guys a couple months ago. Everyone was expecting it to be at Gursky on a Friday, and now we're in Shillington on a Saturday afternoon. So a little bit of a different beast there. But yeah, Roman Catholic is the one that jumped out just because of everything surrounding it. It's a season opener, and it's a big time opponent that the Bulldogs have never played before. What have you seen from Roman Catholic?
I say not only that, but they've got the wide receiver that's going to test Jami's secondary. They've got Lyons at a defensive end that's going to test what our offensive line can do. They've got their 4-star left tackle that's committed to Penn State or something too. That's going to test Lawrence defensive line too. So there's enough athletes and players that they've got there that hopefully after that game we know where we are. We know what our team is. We know what our identity is, or we're going to know what we have to change and fix. So it's a great first test, and it should be a nice little war for 48 minutes.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a huge game to kick off the season. We're just about 2 weeks away. By the time this airs, we'll be under 2 weeks. So it's coming quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Roman Catholic loses basically 3 offensive linemen. That's it on their offense. Every specialist player is pretty much back. Tailback, both wide receivers, tight end, you name it. Their specialists are back, and obviously you hear stuff, but until you see it on tape, but that's their first scrimmage, I think it would be inappropriate to draw any conclusions. But they're going to be a formidable opponent for sure.
I mean, these are the games that you love, right? I mean, it's Wilson historically is a quality program. I mean, you can ask anyone, and that's true. And Roman Catholic historically is a quality program. So I mean, these are the games you get really excited about. When you have 2 quality teams facing each other week 1, it's great because you do. You have, we think we're good. I'm sure they think that they're great. But we'll find out, and we're going to walk away from that with a lot of things that we've done wrong. And I'm sure the same would be true for them as well. We're just hoping that we can wake up Saturday morning 1-0. That's a lot better than 0-1, and go from there.
How do you feel that coaching high school football has changed for you since you started coaching? Even just in the last few years, I know Jake, this is your fourth
year. Mm-hmm.
How have you seen things change? It could be fundamentals, it could be skills, it could be other, coaching in general. What has changed for you over the last few years? Anything stand out?
Well, from a defensive side, you don't see 2 formations all game. You see multiple personnel packages. You probably see 6 or 7 formations with different shifts. And everyone's trying to push the rules. That's why you have RPOs. So, and in some cases I actually feel for the officials because they have so many rules to know now. And every offensive coach is trying to push those rules as well. So there's a lot more teaching going on pre-snap than I'd ever done before. It was always post-snap the coaching when I first started. Now everything's pre-snap because of all the different formations, all the different personnel. If you run trips with a D1 receiver to the trips, that's different than running them to the single. You know, you got to be able to adjust to that. If they motion, say, from two receivers to three receivers, in which guy are they motioning? The good guy or the, you know, like, that's stuff that all these kids now need to know. You know, when I played, it was like, okay, I'm going to line up and I'm just going to hit you. You know, like, and there were some smart coaches back then that would make you think for sure, but the overall thinking week to week, it's a new challenge every week for sure. You know, so I think the offensive coaches have really changed the game and made it a lot more challenging for defenses for sure.
I think, I mean, the big thing is coming out of COVID. You know, there's a greater expectation the kids are doing work at home. You know, and when we were all in high school, you know, watching film was something that you did at school. Same thing for college. You couldn't really watch it at home. And now we're at a point now where kids have access to our huddle account. So our expectation is that they're coming to practice with maybe just a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more understanding, and they can watch themselves play. Because a lot of mistakes that kids make early on, I mean, when you're watching yourself, they're pretty egregious, and they're pretty obvious. So it's nice that we can hold kids accountable in that way. That way we can spend the limited time that we have together, instead of looking backwards, we can try to work forward, in that regard.
I mean, I think the technology side of it, just like an offshoot of COVID, is you can go to all these virtual conferences and you can hear California line coaches talking. There's the pool of the offensive line coaches. So you can listen to like a Bob Wiley from the Browns. You can hear what his philosophies are. You just sit in front of your computer, you can hear it. So dissemination of information is so much more. And then even our drone to film practices, like we can just throw a drone up and the offensive line can't hide from that. So it's so much easier for us to coach and see, oh, they're stepping under themselves. So the very next day of practice, there's a drill, so they're not stepping under themselves anymore. It makes tailoring your drills almost instantaneous from one day to the next.
Last one, you have anything else to add? No? Good. All right. Bring it home then.
All right, so for the last one, what would your message to the fans and community be prior to the start of 2020?
Come out and support. I mean, there's nothing better than when Gursky Stadium is packed with fans and spectators. It's a great environment. I've been fortunate enough to coach in a lot of different places, and you don't necessarily always have the community support. That's the cool thing about Wilson, and I've never been anywhere else. And I joke with the other guys on staff, like I've never been anywhere else where like you guys post pictures of like kids seeing your photo next to their grandfather seeing your photo playing at Wilson. That's awesome. So having the community support's huge, but especially when we have Rome in week 1, I really hope that I'm up in the box and I can look down on packed bleachers. Because it's cool. It's a special thing that happens here in West Lawn.
I don't know, as a coach, the biggest thing I like year for year is when you see the kids' personalities come out on the field. Because every year, yeah, I mean, we have some consistencies with the staff being here, Doug being here for all these years and doing a great job. But it's still the kids' personalities coming out on the field, and every year is different. And, I guess that makes it ultra special every year because every time it's going to be different and how the kids take the ownership on and grow as young men. So it's always fun to see kids bring out their own personalities on the field.
Anything else anyone wanted to add?
I said it. Yeah.
It's great.
All right. Well, we look forward to watching your team this year out on the field. Appreciate you taking the time with us to talk as the season gets underway. When this airs, you'll be ready to roll right into your 2 days, 3 days training camp, whatever you want to call it, and be less than 2 weeks away from that game against Roman Catholic, which will be youth night. So it's great to kick off the season with all the players that you may be seeing in the years to come. So again, thank you guys, and best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Free cheesesteaks at Joe's.
Now he's got to edit it.
All right. So thank you to the assistant coaches for sitting down and talking with Justin and I a couple days ago. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. And hope you enjoyed that little sneak preview of the players because I completely messed that up. So sorry about that. But we're gonna move right on here and get to head coach Doug Dahms' interview now. All right. Well, Coach Dahms joining the Bulldog Hour now for our annual preseason head coach interview. Doug, thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, you've been making the circuit already. I think I've seen you pop up with Eastern PA football with Bruce, and you were a couple other places. A lot of your coaches and players have been everywhere. A lot of exposure for you guys so far in this preseason, and we're happy to contribute to that. But what do you think about everyone tracking you down already and wanting to talk about the Bulldogs?
Well, I think that a lot of that has to do with the LL Burks merger because now all of a sudden, I mean, before it was LL and Wilson, and now all of a sudden it's LL and everybody. So since we're the old standby, they talk to us because we're the ones that are going to see both sides of the coin for the most part. But it's good for the kids. The kids enjoy the notoriety that comes with all the interviews and everything. For me, I can care less.
You'll talk to whoever, but
Yeah, I'll
if
talk.
they don't ask, that's okay.
That's
too.
correct. Don't ask, don't tell.
So, well, let's start with the Burks merger right off the top. We've been talking about it for years. I think it came out first in January 2018, and I think we've
Yeah,
asked
about
you
right.
every year about it since, and now it's here. It's happened, like you said, not too much of a huge impact for Wilson. Still in Section 1, get to play with rival Reading again as part of a league matchup. But outside of that, not huge changes. But what do you think about for the other sections, the other Burks teams, and the merger as a whole from a non-Wilson perspective? Are you in favor? Do you like it?
I was in favor of it all along because I think whatever's best for football, high school football, when you look at it, you have teams like Kutztown that was forfeiting some games because of low numbers and things. I mean, Kutztown can't compete with Berks Catholic, or couldn't at least yet. But now they're going to get an opportunity to play against other schools that are very similar to them in size and numbers, and so they can be competitive every week. I mean, nobody learns anything when you win 60 to nothing, the winner or the loser. And it's very hard to get your kids, to play the game when you're getting pounded like that. So I think, on one hand, there's going to be a lot more parity, and schools are going to get a lot better turnout as a result. And then on the other hand, I think because of the parity, there were some years in Berks County where it was Wyomissing, Berks Catholic, and the rest of their schedule was pretty easy. It was Exeter Mifflin, and the rest of their schedule was pretty easy. And now they're not going to have that. They're going to have 5 or 6 games. Every section's going to have 5 or 6 games that they better be ready for. Maybe more, but they better be ready. So there's going to be a lot of parity and a lot more tough games, which, if you can weather the storm, is going to make you a better football team at the end of the year.
Yeah, and those 4 Berks teams you just mentioned are playing in the 2 sections that the media is pointing out as being a real tough out. Every week it's a tough game. Mifflin and Exeter will be in Section 2 with the likes of Manheim Central, Warwick, and in Section 4 we get the Wyomissing Berks Catholic reunited after being off for the last couple of years, but they're going to be playing some great teams.
Valley, I think it's in 4.
And Calico
Calico,
and Lancaster-Lebanon.
Strasburg.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the Berks teams fare. I know Mike Drago wrote an article about if it had happened last year, would Berks have swept all 5 sections?
It's still 1, I think.
I did. I think it might have been.
5.
Yeah. But it showed how, like you said, the parity that's coming and how every team now in Berks throughout has an opportunity to be playing meaningful games and competitive games. And that's only good for the sport.
It's going to be really hard to sweep your league. I would really much anticipate there being a lot of, even as it was in the LL, we had a lot of tri-champions or co-champions, and I think we're going to see that because A is going to beat B, B is going to beat C, and C is going to beat A. Or, all kinds of, you have 4 or 5 teams that are all very
Like you
competitive.
said, that may not be what individual schools want to see. Everybody wants to win that championship
Sure.
outright. But from the bigger picture, I feel like that would be a sign of success. That would show that we're getting games where teams can actually compete with other teams
And you know,
from
when-
an enrollment of 70, to an enrollment of 500.
and when you have those kind of games week in and week out, the fans, I mean, nobody wants to sit and watch a blowout. It's boring, by halftime, everybody's, bored. But boy, when the games are coming down to the last couple minutes of the game, those are exciting. Everybody's riveted, and you get a bigger attendance, and it's just good for high school football.
So we had one of your assistants just before this number drop, your years on staff, out of thin air. He was able to pull it out. 47th year on staff at Wilton. This is your 17th as head coach. Got a lot of big numbers and wins at head and also on staff. I know you don't like to focus on them, so you let us do that. We always take care of that for you.
You guys like stats.
So I love stats. But let's, before we look more at 2022, let's just briefly talk about last year. It was a unique year for Wilton, for you guys. Things started out a little bit rough, a little bit something that you've been unaccustomed to after the first 5 weeks in that 2-3. But the team really rallied, and ended up having a fantastic season, just coming up just short in the district championship game. What's your biggest takeaway from last year, or is there something that you can apply or you'd like to see applied to 2022?
Well, when you're at that point in the season, you can very easily implode. And it doesn't matter who you are, you're on the verge of that. And basically, I told the kids things aren't going to change, but I'm not going to be as pleasant. I told the coaches, don't point any fingers, just, get that much more attentive to detail, and understand that, some of those games were a result of some, we didn't have a starting quarterback for Exeter. We lost both running backs in the Exeter game. We didn't have a running back. We were down to our third string running back for Manheim Central. So there was some, things there that went against us in terms of injury, but you got to rally everybody together. And, I said, listen, we've been doing this long enough. We know what we do works. Let's just get a little bit more attentive to every detail. So as the kids would tell you, the next couple of weeks, I was not a pleasant coach at practice. Every single play when we were in team or in drills, I was on somebody, because we weren't going to accept the mediocrity. We weren't going to accept the bad step, the bad hand placement, the mental mistake, whatever. And I spread the wealth, make sure everybody got ripped. But, that's a level of intensity in practice. It was exhausting for me because there was no playoff. I was just picking somebody different. I made sure I spread the wealth, picked somebody different. But I think it showed the kids that attention to detail is our important if you want to win. It's the difference in a close game. So
I just think we remember some of the post-game interviews with some of the players at that mid-season when the tide started to turn, and they were keenly aware of the attention to detail that the coaches had now. Maybe even, like you said, not that they weren't paying attention to detail, but just ramped it up even more. Accountability came up a number of times in those interviews with the players. Yeah.
And it worked out. But our kids believe, and that's huge. They believe if they do what we tell them to do, and they do it correctly, then we're going to win. So we turned it around. It's very unusual. I'm sure there were people in the stands calling for my head. What the heck's Dahms doing?
You can go 9-1, and there still will be
They'd still be
sitting up there.
Luckily, my wife is very tuned out to whatever time the stand says.
Well, obviously the message was well received because after starting 2-3, you won seven in a row, including upsets in the playoffs, at least by seeding. The first one against York with an electric playmaker. You were able to win that game, and then the huge upset against Central York, which you talk about. That attention to detail matters in close games, and we saw it. And I think that was game 5, the loss to Manheim Central was a close game, but then you turn around, 2 months later, and you're on the road in the playoffs against one of the best quarterback in the state, and you're able to hold them to 11 points and get that upset victory to go to the district championship game. So obviously, what you and the coaching staff and then the players bought into worked wonders. So this year, besides our graduation loss, is there any new faces on the coaching staff or other losses from the program, kids that didn't come out? Is there anything that's changed for you this year in 2022?
Alex Twyford, who helped with our tight ends last year, is not back because his job change doesn't allow, his hours changed. You know, before he was working like 5 to 2, and now I think he's working 9 to 5 or 8 to 4:30 or something like that. So he's not back. But other than that, the entire staff's back intact, which I'm very appreciative of because, you know, works like a well-oiled machine.
Right.
All right. Players-wise, no.
Those graduation losses.
Graduation losses, obviously, you know, but no new faces other than the kids that have been in the program, and we're just, you know, trying to ramp it up a little bit, get ready for it.
I know last night you were in a meeting, and I know you have meetings like this all year for league and PIAA. Are there any big changes coming that you think the fans and community should be aware of, that they're not questioning why an official called this or why the coaches can't do this?
Probably the biggest change that they're going to notice is you now, if the quarterback's out of the box, he can throw it away, just like you can in college and the pros.
Oh,
And
that
that's
is a
brand
big
new.
change.
Yeah, that's a big change. He has to be out of the box. The ball has to go across the line of scrimmage, just like, you know, the college. The officials trying to call that, that'll be interesting.
We've had a couple of interesting calls last year on those.
Yeah.
Are you happy about that change? Is that a good one?
No, not really, because what's going to happen now is you got a quarterback running for his life, and instead of taking a sack, he's just going to throw the ball, and you're right back to square one again. The NFHS argument was protected, you know, it's all about safety. Quarterback's running for his life, well, then go down. You know, that was my thought.
And fewer hits. And things,
Yeah,
right?
but that's what they're looking at. So
Yeah, that's a big change.
that's a big
That
change.
was
Yeah.
happening. So
That's the only major one. There's a bunch of little subtle ones that the fans aren't going to notice. You know, number 0 is now a legal number.
yes. Wilson's not getting those, right?
No, we're not getting
Yeah. See,
it. You can't have a double 0. It can only be a single 0.
baby steps.
And it's an eligible number.
It's an eligible.
Yeah.
I know they changed that in college, but 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Joey loves the number.
I hate that on Thursday. I can't stand it.
Only thing that he loves more is double.
Hey, that's not even possible.
Yeah.
But,
And pros.
Wilson, no 0, at least for now. Maybe the next iteration of jerseys. I don't know if that's something
Probably
Bender will
not.
entertain.
Probably.
I don't like it, so that's my vote. I know that carries a ton of weight in this decision. But yeah, no, 0 is not my thing. So, well, before we talk more about the schedule, then let's focus on the aesthetics there. The helmet's always a big topic of discussion, and you guys have been cycling through a few different designs. And this year, there will be no Bulldog on it again, which I know is a point of contention with a few of the longtime fans of the program. We got the
Not the real long time fans.
No, right.
You go back far enough, there wasn't a
There
bullet.
was nothing, and then it was the one
W
that
with
will
the
be on
design.
your one side. The W in the football, which came back in 2019 for the 75th anniversary year celebration. It's been off and on a couple of times, but the biggest change is the one side will have the scripted word Bulldog on it, which I don't believe there's ever been a word as the main logo on one of the sides. How did that process come about? Is that something that Coach Bender approaches you? Do you let the players decide? How does that design process happen?
Well, Coach Bender always has ideas that I have to shoot down. You know, we'd look like Oregon if he had his way. Because I'm a little bit of a,
See, Joey's all on board with that.
Well, I shouldn't say.
He's all on board with that idea. But if you were to apply it to Wilson, I think
Right.
you would name it.
well, the only thing I said is if you remember when Oregon played for the national championship, the helmet that they had in the national championship game, that, I said, if we could get that, I'd do it. But that's $270 paint job
Per helmet.
per helmet.
Yeah. Well, Justin and I always say when we win the lottery, that's an opportunity for Wilson athletics and extracurriculars to really look good. We can pump in some of that Powerball money. So,
Yeah.
I didn't win $1 billion.
no, we did not. So
You know, if you won that 1.3 and took it in a lump sum, you only got 400 million.
I think I
I can make.
I think I can find some room for whatever helmets you want.
No, we always talk to the kids, this is your team. All right, so what we did was we decided, okay, within reason, let's give them a little bit because we've gone through, several modifications on the helmet. So we said, okay, what do you want on the helmet? Here's your options. You can have the script, you can have the Bulldog, you can have the football with the W in it. You know, what do you want? And they, as a team, decided they wanted the scripted Bulldog and then the W in that one. So it's their ownership, it's their team, you know, and no, I mean, we don't want to wrinkle too far. We're not going to stray too far. All right, but you know that part, you know, I can live with. So
Interesting. Yeah, we had talked to Coach Wolver about it a few weeks ago when he was on the show, and it was just insightful because I get a lot of people when post pictures and you don't see the Bulldog, people want to know what's going on.
Right.
But I think it's great that you let the play, you give players options. That like you said, it's their team. What do you
their
what do
ownership,
you want?
you give them ownership. You tell them all the time when you're playing, it's your game, it's your team, it's your season. Take ownership. So give them a little bit of say that way.
So the way the schedule shapes up this year, you rotate home and away games, so you don't have any home stands or road trips to worry about. But week 1 is at home at Gursky, and that's the Roman Catholic game. That's the biggest one I think people are talking about because it's so new. It's a new opponent to start the new season. It's youth night, and we know that they are coming in with, on paper, a loaded roster. They've got a lot of big-time recruits in the college ranks, and they pose an interesting opponent. Well, what have you guys been studying about Roman Catholic, or what's jumped off the page about them for your debut game this year?
Well, they obviously have an extremely talented receiver, considered one of the top receiver recruits in the country. They have an extremely talented defensive end that also plays tight end. So, I mean, we haven't put a game plan together yet. We've watched whatever film we can get on YouTube and things like that on them. And obviously, when you're playing a team that has that kind of talent, the name of the game is figure out what you want to stop, because you can't stop everything. So, you know, if we decide we're going to make sure that, you know, the receiver is not playing a part of it, then, well, then we're giving up something else. But you have to kind of choose your poison. So, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, between the offensive staff, the defensive staff, and myself, we'll settle in on a game plan and give it our best shot.
Not too many changes to the schedule. You still have Central Dauphin. That'll be week 2 on the road. Then Martin Luther King is coming back for that game. That's the second home game. That's Friday the 9th. You know the opponent now since you got to play them last year. But then, as we mentioned earlier, Reading back on the schedule because of the Berks LL merger. You get to go play at their place to start. First time the Red Knights and the Bulldogs have played in 10 years. What does it mean to the two programs to be able to play each other again?
I think our kids will get excited about it because Reading Wilson has always been a bit of a rivalry in a lot of sports. I mean, 15 years ago, it's a big time rivalry in football. Maybe it might be 20. I don't know. The years all blend
Getting
together.
closer to 20, unfortunately.
Right. And I think, you know, they hired from within a guy that went there, played there, works there. So I think he's going to have a pretty good handle on the kids, you know, and how to get them motivated. So I think it's, you know, hopefully it's going to develop into a nice rivalry again. But as anything, there's growing pains when you're a first year coach. So.
Yeah, it was Reading Wilson was big time when I was on the team, which is unfortunately closing in on 20 years ago.
Yeah, I guess it is.
So, yeah, that was big. 2000 to 2003, I think,
Right.
was before. Those were huge matchups. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those in a little bit. Let's talk about the Tradition Club reunion event that will be during the Martin Luther King game on Friday the 9th. But after the game at Reading on the 16th, you come back home to play Cedar Crest on the 23rd. And then the interesting one, besides Roman Catholic that everyone's talking about, is Mifflin. Not just because Wilson hasn't been able to beat them the last few years, but the biggest thing was it's not at Wilson like it was supposed to be,
Right.
and it's not on a Friday night, it's on a Saturday afternoon. So what was the decision? Who made the decision to flip-flop the game? Is that something that the schools have to agree on? And when it was moved, did you know it was going to be moved to a Saturday?
The decision wasn't made by, that was the league scheduler, when they Berks and LL and they realigned everything. It's just the way it worked, you know,
Okay.
that's neither here nor there. The Saturday afternoon, we're not real happy about. Jeff Lang isn't real happy about,
That's what I've heard.
you know, it's like, it wouldn't happen here. Friday night football. As far as I was concerned, why don't they just play their soccer games on Saturday? they get a much better crowd. It's their big homecoming and everything. But some people might like it, because they like Saturday afternoon football. But
I mean, it harkens back to games played before lights were
yeah, but
everywhere.
then we're back to a Friday night. So now you have a short week.
Right.
I think we come back to Hempfield after them.
Yep.
So it's, not something that we really wanted, but, it's the home team's decision, not the away team has no say.
Well, and like you said, the coaching staff for Mifflin, not exactly pleased that that's the way it shook out
Right.
either. It sounds like that was more of an administration decision than it was a football perspective decision, but neither here
I
nor
think the TV rights wanted it or something.
Sure. That's big in the news right now. Why not? To make sure we get some of that money. So you said Hempfield the next week. They're trending in the right direction.
Oh, they're definitely trending. I mean, George Egger cut his teeth here with us, their head coach. He hired a very nice staff, and they're a big school with a lot of athletes. So they're moving in the right direction. They're going to be tough.
That's been one of the things Justin and I have said. Maybe it hasn't been on the show, but in private, we always said they're the LL Sleepy Giant.
We
Oh, yeah.
call Hempfield the Sleep Giant for years because it's a massive school
Yeah.
and
Good
a lot of
athletes.
talent there. You look, they compete in every sport.
Yeah, they do.
Every sport in the district you see they're there, the talent's there. Yeah.
When it's not like they've been bad on the football field,
No.
they've just been average, above average
Right.
to good. They just
Right.
haven't been able to break through. It's been Wilson and Township have been the big ones for the past. I think only Wilson and Township have won since Reading last split with McCaskey in 2003. It's been Wilson and Township. That's it. But where's Hempfield in there? And I think George.
Well, I think they'll be back.
Yeah, he seems to have them trending.
Yeah. And like I said, he has a nice staff. He picked up a couple of coaches from F&M. His dad helps. He picked up some guys that he's coached before. And George played for Evans at Manning Township, so he has a nice understanding of what they do. He played at F&M, has a nice understanding there. He coached with us for several years, so he has, so he's getting a nice blend of everything, how to go about it, put his own stamp on it.
Yeah, so that game is October 7th, I guess it would be. The trip down to Penn Manor then, back to Millersville. That's the quirkiness of the realignment. 2 straight years at Penn Manor. Justin and I are okay with that because we love the Sugar Bowl. So Justin missed the trip last year, so
Sit there on it.
McCaskey will return here. Another good thing, we don't have to go to McCaskey for 2 years in a row.
Play on grass.
Play on grass, right? So that's good. And then have the team not be on the field with you. Yeah.
That's right, man.
So then the last game, season finale at Manheim Township. We're going down to Nashville for that one. Do you think Township is one of the better teams in Section 1 this year?
They're at the point now, Mark has them, where, they're going to compete year in and year out. They're not going to have a down team. They're just going to reload. Question. They've lost some really nice players, but, they got a quarterback coming back that's pretty good. And they do a lot in the offseason, just like we do. It gets the most out of them. So, yeah, they're going to be one of the top 3 teams in the league here.
How about we talked to you about this last year, but now it's even more at the forefront because of what's happened in the college ranks and because of what I believe either or NFHS and PIAA has talked about the NIL stuff at the high school level. What do you make of NIL at high school student athletes?
I don't like NIL at the college level. When they say, oh, this university's making all this money, no, wait a minute. Okay, the university's making a lot of money, but they're spending $500,000 on 89 apiece on 89 players. That's a lot of money. And that doesn't even include all the transportation and the food and everything. It's very expensive. I just think it's creating too much professionalism. Let the colleges make their money so they think about down the road. Now that money that the college would have got is now going to be going to players, so the colleges aren't going to get as much advertising and everything money. So now, and the TV isn't going to get as much advertising rights and monies. So now maybe the colleges aren't going to get as much money. So maybe they're not going to be able to afford all the things they did before. I don't like it at all at the college level. The high school level, there's only a couple of kids that have that kind of notoriety, of Michael Parsons or, maybe Bo Brivula last year. But even then, we talked to the PIAA, who's going to police it? All the coaches. How am I going to know if somebody's giving people money? Basically all they said is it's legal to cheat, legal to pay people. I think it's a step in the wrong direction.
Feels like they're opening up a can of worms that they could have just kept closed.
Yeah, and they don't know how to regulate it. So, I mean,
Couple things.
you're not allowed to. It makes no sense. You're not allowed to. Local boosters are not allowed to sponsor the players.
Right.
Well, who's going to sponsor the players?
Right. It can't be a staff.
Like Masano can't give them a car, or
Right.
they can't get free food at Dairy Queen or something like that. But I guess Gatorade could, or the national corporations can.
Right, but then, like you said, you're talking about 0.1% of athletes that would ever have that kind of notoriety and fame that a national company would be
Sure.
interested. So I guess they're saying, well, if you're big enough, you can take advantage of the identity you've established. But
It almost has to happen when they're juniors too, because otherwise,
right,
they're going.
yeah, it's just I was really shocked when I saw a few weeks ago that they decided to basically make it okay with some stipulation. I know it was just the first read and
It's okay. We're not going to regulate it though.
Right, yeah, right. Well, we're going to come back and hit you because you didn't do what we told you not. That we weren't going to tell you how to do it. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. But how about looking at the players on your team this year? Who do you see as being an impact guy? The Wilson tradition of the senior step-up player. It maybe overshadowed for the first 2 years, but now he's had a chance to shine. Is there anyone that jumps out that you think could really make a name for himself this year in that senior class?
I think of the seniors that didn't play a whole lot last year, Nick Krokota had a really nice off season and has the potential to possibly be an impact player. Nate Capitano played a little at the beginning of the year, but then didn't play much towards the end. I think, if he stays healthy, he could be an impact player. Those are two seniors that jump out. Cleveland Harding, who ran behind Jaden Jones and Goose Leonard for 2 years. All of a sudden, now it's his to shine, and has the tools to do it. Let's hope he does. I would say you want to be like Elijah Morales a couple of years back. I had to throw him off the team when he was a junior. Told me I had to do all these things for him to come back, came back, and was back of the year.
First team all state.
Yeah, who would have thought that?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, we bring that up all the time. We don't want to put pressure on Cleveland, but we say it's been done before.
Sure,
there are examples out there, and not
it's
just
your
them.
turn. It's your
Yeah.
chance.
Next man up. How about some underclassmen that you think are poised for a big year that we should know entering this year?
I think some of our receivers like Case and Valkavich could potentially have good years. Quarterback situation still unresolved, but both of them look pretty good. Adam Woods and Tommy Hunsicker both look pretty good there. So
And they're both will be juniors.
they're both juniors, yeah. And then defensively, Ryan McMillan, Eddie Case. At this stage, until we put the pads on, it's really hard to say the rest of them.
Right. Yeah. Sure. You haven't done any hitting. We're just a few days before the start of those full pad. We're just finishing heat week here. So it's tough to gauge, but how do you feel in relation to the last few years where you're at with this team? Compared to previous off seasons, and do you have any expectations in your head of not necessarily win-loss, but maybe the identity this team is creating?
I think there's 3 places that are going to determine how good this football team is. Quarterback, because they both are doing some nice things, but they're both juniors and they're going to make mistakes. Right. Running back, because Cleveland hasn't been in the spotlight, yet. And then the trenches, because we can't see a lot of that yet until the pad's going. How they're going to respond, how physical are they going to be, are they going to take control? So those are the 3 places that are going to make a break.
we touched on it a little bit when I mentioned the Reading game and then the Tradition Club event coming up for the Martin Luther King game on Friday night. But the WFTC is welcoming back the championship team from fall 2002, which was my senior year. So I've been pushing for that for the 20th anniversary. So we're excited to be welcoming back those players and coaches. But I just wanted to get you to have memories from that season, that 2002 season. Anything that jumps to mind from 2002.
We gotta separate 1, 2, and 3 now.
I can help you with that.
Okay.
So 2002 was the district championship loss to Central Dog.
Oh, when the field goal got blocked.
But we didn't get to kick the field goal. We ran out of time.
Okay.
It was 35-33.
Right.
Yeah. That was that season.
Yeah. God,
I know.
bad
Go
memories.
That was
We lost to
Jeff's junior
Central
year.
Dolphin on a blocked field goal the one year too.
That was 2011.
1 or 3.
Wasn't that late?
2011. With I think that was the junior year of Dominic Moore. So,
Yeah, the loss is sticking in my mind. The year that the loss. Yeah, that was the year. 2002 was the year that Central Dauphin had an incredibly explosive offense.
yes.
And I told Contafio that we're going to slow them down. But they had a stud running back, they had stud receivers.
Arden Bransford.
Yeah,
Frank
they were
Wise,
just,
yeah.
I mean, and they were just good. And so the played pretty well, but they scored, I believe, 2 or 3 touchdowns in the first half, but they only had like 48 yards of offense because we threw 2 picks, I think, and had a fumble. And they got the ball in short fields on all of them, which was the exact opposite of making a drive the length of the field.
Right. Yes, it was.
And then there was a very interesting halftime
Yes.
where one of the players, whose name will remain unmentioned, asserted himself at encouraging Contafio to run the ball. So we came out second half and pounded the rock.
Desmond Boyd.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dean Millard got injured during
Right.
the game as well, starting safety.
But we had them on the ropes, and we had them 4th and 13, I believe, and we got a personal foul for 2 players in the field. This number 12 was their personal protector when they fake it. But I forget the other guy that was in there when they did. So they lined up a punt at midfield, and I'm screaming 12's on the field, 12's on the field. So the defense is aware, I mean, obviously. And Coach Contafio thought that we had too many men on the field, so he started calling the guys off. And I said, no. And then he sent them back on, and we ended up with 12 guys because he kind of stepped into what he didn't really know was going on. But and then they got a first down and they scored. But even as it was, I think it was we went for 2. Was that the game we went
Yeah,
for 2?
so it was entering the fourth quarter, it was 35-14. And there was an onside kick recovery, there was some quick scores. It was, we scored with, I forget what it was, a minute or under a minute left, and went for 2.
Right.
And didn't
Didn't
convert.
get it.
It was 35-33, but got the ball back again.
Right.
And was driving down the field and
Ran out of time.
thought, I believe it was the connection that happened all year. Henny to Lajado got out of bounds with a second to go, and it would have been a tough kick. And that was about the 35 or 40.
Right.
So it was a long kick, but
But
Ricky
what
had the leg for that. We've seen him hit those before, but unfortunately they didn't let that happen.
I remember that game.
That's not necessarily the highlight that I want to talk about, but yeah, that's someone that sticks out. But yeah, the team was 10-0 in the regular season and just blew by everyone except for maybe Hempfield was the only one that was a little was close. But yeah, that was a fun year. So I'm looking forward to having some of the guys come back. And
That was Chad's Jr.
that was Chad's junior year, yeah. So that was a fun year. So
My roommate from college, my best friends from college, at the game against me. After the game, he said, "I just want to know, You have the best quarterback in the state of Pennsylvania, and probably one of the best receivers in the state of Pennsylvania. Why'd your halfback throwing the ball?
Yeah.
But I don't coach the offense. I can't hit that.
Well, yeah, it didn't go as planned, but it was a thrilling game.
Yeah, very exciting.
People mention it all the time, and then I believe the next week Central Dauphin lost to Parkland, who went on to win the state championship.
They had
That was
Austin Scott, and we would have handled them because all Parkland had, because they run wing T, was waggle. That was the only pass they had. And the way we play our defense, we could have handled that, and we could handle Austin Scott, but didn't get the opportunity.
Yeah, we need to move on. Justin, you have anything you want to jump in and ask?
No.
You good? All right. Well, then, Coach, our last thing for you for this interview, we just want to know what's your message to the fans and community as you get to embark on the 2022 season.
I think that the interesting thing is, although COVID's not a thing of the past, it's still with us. You know, we're back to some sense of normalcy. You know, in all-season workouts and fan participation and everybody being there. So I'm just hoping that everybody gets caught up in the whole thing and realizes, hey, it's a new league. It can get really exciting. Let's get Friday nights cranked up and ready to go again. And, you know, it's great for everybody. I mean, the little elementary kids run all over the place like they're crazy. You know that.
Yeah, we know that.
Both of you have to deal with that. The junior high kids, I don't know, they run all over the place. I mean, they're crazy, but they're a little bit more in touch with each other as opposed to the parents. The high school kids, super fans, get out there and go nuts. You know, all those long time community support people, the 65, 70, 75-year-olds that are all Wilson diehard fans. Everybody, hopefully comes back and things get, the community gets back into it and we get back to normal, because there's nothing like a Friday night when you got a big crowd and a good game.
Yeah, that was mentioned by a few of the players yesterday when I spoke with them. Players that didn't grow up in the Wilson system that have moved in the last few years. They said how different it was to be playing at Wilson in front of the stadium with the capacity crowd, and they used the alumni. It just was something that they weren't accustomed to. And they spoke very highly of the program and the fans. So very good. I hope that's what we see. So.
I hope.
All right, Coach.
And we win.
Yes, that's what we all want to see. And you'll get to talk to us if you win. So I know that's a highlight of every game for you. But yeah, hopefully we're talking to you often this fall. We look forward to that, and appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Well, thanks for all you do. It's it's great to have the media out there and keep the community involved and informed.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach, and good luck.
Thanks.
All right, so that was our interview with Wilson football head coach Doug Dahms, and hope everyone enjoyed the interview series here with the coaching staff. Didn't get to everyone that we'd like to, but like I said, there's opportunities coming up with Scrimmage next weekend, and obviously the games this fall, and we like to talk to a random assortment of individuals from coaches and players, and we will do that as often as possible. And like we said, hopefully after each victory during the 2022 season, we'll get to talk with them more. So that's it for the show tonight. A little bit over an hour of interviews, but you don't have to wait long to watch us again. And you can see Justin and I live tomorrow night, Sunday, August 14th. We start the broadcast at 8:30 p.m. We'll do a little bit of an intro, go over some of that housekeeping and announcements at the beginning, and then we'll roll right into the senior player interviews. Again, 9 senior players talked to me this week. We're going to broadcast those in 2 sets. First group of 5, you kind of got a sneak peek of that here this evening, and then a second group of 4. And like I said, there's another handful of guys that weren't able to make it that I hope to talk to and maybe have that on the show next Sunday, the 21st. But I think that's it for me tonight. So again, thanks to our sponsors and thanks to all the Wilson football fans out there. I'm looking very much forward to the 2022 season, which kicks off in 13 days. So for Justin Raffoff, I'm Joe Mays, and until next time, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.